High Ashwing! Okay, it's not Ashwing, but it might as well be. High Ashwing is here as the newest heroic in the newest heroic race. And now High Ashwing has an interesting set of elements. I say that mainly for soul, and also if you just need some basics like flame and metal, High Ashwing is your guy right there. And he's also has a brother in the form of High Scorchwing, which is of course an existing dragon, but this is the heroic race for this new dragon. And so we will go through how you can do well in this heroic race for the minimal amount of gem spending that is possible. But first thing that I am going to say about this heroic race is that it does follow the typical rules of a heroic race, so not a heroic marathon, but a normal heroic race. So to get your hands on this heroic, you need to, at minimum, get lap 5, and then you can either get the dragon by coming first in the race, or alternatively, you can guarantee the dragon by getting to lap 15. And so I would always recommend this way of getting the dragon, so guaranteeing it by getting to lap 15. But for anyone that was a little bit worried about this, it looks like this race is a repeat of the High Nacrea race, which is both a blessing and a curse, because in the High Nacrea race we had tons of orbs available, and we have tons of orbs available for this dragon in this race too. You'll see lap 16 we have 200 orbs, we have the very, very cool looking skin, I might add, on lap 17, and then the lap 18 is 500 orbs. So if you get to lap 18 like we did with High Nacrea, that is 700 free orbs for this heroic. We've got heroic orbs chest, and then of course we also have the special heroic quests ongoing as well. So we've got the heroic quest, so if you manage to empower him to a high level, you can get tons of gems and tons of free orbs, and we'll have heroic combat quests as well. So if you saw anything about the High Nacrea dragon heroic races, this is going to be pretty much the same thing. Now, some of the nodes, however, may be slightly different, but I think for the most part, they are more or less identical, which means that on node 1 even, early on, we do have wait timers. And I will go through all the basics of heroic races, wait timers and everything like that. But we will go through quest by quest how you can do these quests in the heroic race, and just some general tips for this event. So with this heroic race, you'll see I'm on lap 4, node 1, and currently we have no one even playing this event, so maybe we'll get a free race, maybe not, but I wouldn't assume anything from your players not being active on day 1. They may become very active very shortly, just don't bank on them not logging in. Get to lap 15. But the first quest that we have, which is one of the more annoying quests, is lap 4, node 1, get items by collecting food, and just like how annoying it is during, say, I don't know, the runner events, it can be very, very annoying to do these quests, especially if you do what I did earlier and you swap over from mobile to PC, and then all of your settings for your farms haven't saved, and now only a few of your farms have food being produced and the others you're gonna have to wait like a day. This sucks when it happens. Always be very aware of it, but if you do get any food collecting quests and you only have a few farms, it's just going to mean that it's going to take you extra time. So in this case, we're at 4 out of 7. We should in theory be able to get to 5 out of 7 very soon, but the best food to grow is the shortest food in the game, which is the bluebell bouquets, and you should have about a 10% chance of getting food collections from these. But again, 10% is not a very high chance. So if you're only using like 4 dens, it's going to take multiple sets of collections for even one item. So basically with this food quest, you just have to collect until you eventually get an item. I'm going to do one more set of collecting here, but the thing is with lap 4 node 1, there is actually a massive wait timer on it of 4 hours 30 minutes. It's 1 hour 30 minutes per item, which is like extortionate for a wait time, especially this early. And I don't think we're going to make it straight away, but let's pretend that I've gotten all of my items. I'm just going to skip this node, but that is how you do this. But I'm currently on a wait timer. And so just before we get into all the others, if you're ever confused about what a wait timer is, imagine that at max you can buy 4 items at once, and then someone has to go and restock the shelves, but they're only going to add 1 extra item every 1 hour and 30 minutes. So in an hour and 30 minutes, you can go back in the store and buy another item. In this case, we're not buying them, but we are collecting them. And so if there is a minimum time, as you'll see on the Ditlep website, which you should always have the Ditlep website open to help you with these timers to know when they are. If it says minimum time, that is the minimum amount of time it would take to finish off this node. And so because we need to get 7 items, that's 1 hour 30 minutes times 3, because we need 3 more items than the max pool. So, you know, we can collect 4 items without having to wait, but then we have to wait for the extra 3. So then that is why there is a minimum time of 4 hours 30 minutes. It's quite simple. I know that for newer players it might be a little bit tedious to get your head around, but after you do, it's very, very simple. So always have the Ditlep website's Heroic Race Guide open. That is one of my biggest tips to you when you're going through these heroic races, because then you don't have to guess as to, you know, whether there is an item that you can collect or not, because you might be sitting here for an hour trying to collect an item when you can't get one. Instead, you know that you're not going to get an item, so you know whether you can gem the end of a set of node quests or whatever. And so in this case, because the wait time is so long, I'm just going to gem this because we're here so that we can see the next set of quests. So again, normally I would never spend my gems like this to finish off this, because 8 gems per node is very, very expensive. There is a case where I would suggest spending, on average, spending gems, and we will get through to that in a moment. So then if we get onto lap 4 node 2, we have feeding dragons and getting items from battles. Feeding dragons is incredibly easy because all that you need to do is get a Terra egg, place it, and then feed it up. So this is one of the easiest quests by far in this game. Super duper easy. You see the little beetles popping up, and then when the beetles stop popping up, we know that we've hit our max amount of items that we can get. Then we can recheck. We're at 14 out of 14, so that's all done. The other one that we've got here is battling, and so as soon as you see a battle quest come up, immediately do your first battle like I am. Then we're just going to auto through this. Bony Boy gets an extra KO. Very cool. And then we have a wait timer of 15 minutes. And so the next fight against the Loki Dragon's also going to be a 15-minute wait. And then against Dark Angel, either it's going to be the same wait time, or usually the final battle has a slightly longer wait time than the other two. And the way that you can check exactly how much wait time you're going to have is by checking the next section here. So battling dragons, the wait timer for this is 1 hour and 15 minutes minimum. So that would assume that in 15 minutes you instantly log in to do this fight, and then at exactly 15 minutes after that you're going to log in for Loki, and then you're instantly going to log in as soon as the wait time is over for Dark Angel as well. One thing about the battle quests, however, is that it is actually really gem efficient to gem the final battle out of these. So again, I would recommend waiting 15 minutes, and then in some cases, especially later on, it is actually a good idea to gem the final battle, because the final battle could be like 8 hours of waiting, but it might only cost you a couple of gems to gem that. And so that is the case where you will get the most value out of gemming during this event in battle sections like this. If you don't have the gems, or you don't want to spend the gems, you can also save your free spins for any long battle nodes, and that is what I would highly recommend. You see, I haven't used my daily spin because you only get 1 of these a day, and so rather than me using my spin right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it for now. I'm going to get this battle done the nice, easy, normal way. We're not going to spend our gems on this. There is no reason to. Instead, I'm going to wait for a longer node, and we're going to spend our spin on that. Now, we could get +2, we could get +1, we could skip the entire node if we're lucky. But I'm not going to spend it on lap 4 node 2, for example. But then if we want to check what's coming up after that, we've got lap 4 node 3. And so instantly, we see that this is a League Battles node, and that means that we have 4 League Battles that we need to finish. Problem with this is that if you check your League Battles, you only get 3 energy when you have your combats active. And that's not going to be enough to actually finish off this quest. And so then, if you were going to wait for your combat energy to refresh, what is it, 6 hours that you'd have to wait? So sometimes it is actually better to gem for the final battle at least, and so then you don't have to wait. Sometimes you can refill your combats, but it depends on what player, well, not player level, but which league level you're at, because the higher the league that you're in, the more expensive it is to gem. But you will have to gem whenever you see this above 3, or alternatively, if you finish your set of battles, then you can get a free refresh on the energy. So in that case, you wouldn't have to gem. But in this case here, we will have to gem because we have 4 battles and only 3 energy. So that is just the way it is. We could have timed it a bit better and done 1 battle 6 hours ago in preparation and then done the last 3 to get a free refresh, but we didn't. So that is one thing that you can do for the league battles, but it is very, very simple. If you've ever done a league battle before, you just need to beat the enemies, and the enemies are going to be level 40 dragons max. So if you have a team like this, you will never ever fail a battle. And I'm, of course, ranking up Little Roxy, the Duo Destruct Dragon, while we're here, because you might as well rank up one of them while you're doing your league battles. But league battles are very straightforward. It's just they can be very gem spending heavy if you get into a situation like this. But aside from that, league battles are just league battles, not much more to say. Next up, we have collecting gold, which is also a very, very easy one. Collecting gold, whenever you see the gold symbol above a habitat, you can click it, and then usually you will get an item. The fuller the habitat is, the higher the chances of you getting the drop. So I'd only recommend clicking a habitat once you see the gold symbol above and then clicking to try and get the item. I've actually tested this out before, and what I did was I had like a level 1 habitat, I filled it with dragons, and I just kept clicking to collect the gold, and I compared that to what it was to just wait until it was completely full and then clicking. Every single time it was actually faster to just wait until the gold symbol appeared and then clicking it. So that is why I would recommend that. That was tested a long time ago. But if you're wondering how to do that as a newer player, well, just follow the advice here. You see all these level 1 habitats that I've got? Get a bunch of level 1 Terra habitats and then fill them with Terra dragons, and then you'll be able to have tons of habitats placed down and collect from. Obviously, I've just got a mess over here, but it's kind of a mess like this for a reason, because these fill up so very quickly, and then I can just collect. And again, if we get to full in the habitat, then it is usually going to be better. But like this one is not very big, 500 max gold capacity, doesn't take long to wait for that. And of course, if you've got your boy Madarian's tower, you can also use that to boost the gold production as well. But collecting gold, I say that because that's how they've always written it on this website, but collecting gold is one of the easiest tasks by far. Again, you see this symbol, click it, and you'll usually get an item from it from that. So just make sure you've got lots of habitats placed down like me, like I'm not at any risk of not having habitats available. Just make sure that you don't use Speedy and Greedy when you're doing your gold collecting quest, because otherwise you will cry, because then you will have to wait a while. But collecting gold, love it. Next up after that, we'd have Lapford Node 5, which is 2 quests we've already gone through, which is collecting food and battling dragons, which are 2 pretty easy ones. Another 4-hour 30-minute wait on the collecting food, and another 1-hour 30-minute wait timer on the battling dragons. So these would be the same: collecting food, collect as much as you can, and then you'll have to wait for the last 4 items. Battling dragons is just going to be logging in every like 15 minutes to every 30 minutes until the final battle. And so then we would go on to lap 5. And lap 5, node 1 starts with 6 lots of breeding dragons, which is a painful quest, because it's very similar to the collecting food quest in terms of the fact that, you know, how clicking from all of your farms, you might not get an item for ages. Breeding and hatching quests are arguably the most annoying, along with food collecting in heroic quests, or heroic races, I should say. If you are going to look for this one, which is ×6 breed dragons, you should always try and pop your habitats, not your habitats, your hatcheries and your habitats together, like your breeding dens together. And you can I think the most efficient way to do this is actually not putting them here. It's actually to put them here. So then you would have like your hatchery and your 2 breeding dens, plus you would have sanctuary all next to each other. So then you'd have 3 breeding dens all together to be able to do this. But I've never wanted to bother, and plus I've always had this island over here completely full. But that is the most optimal way to do it. Anyway, in my world, I've got 2 breeding dens that I use, and so always make sure that you are popping in 2 Terra Dragons, and make sure those Terra Dragons are non-empowered, because if I scroll up, you would see that I have a very, very empowered set of Terra Dragons right here. We don't want to be using those, because using empowered Terra Dragons gives you a chance of breeding empowered dragons. And so if we click the possible results, we'd have a chance of breeding Longhorn. And we do not want to be breeding Longhorn during heroic races. It would set you back so far. So make sure that you hatch some Terra Dragons, at least 4 of them, ideally 6 of them, or you can use double Terra as well. And the only possible outcome is Terra. And so what you'll do is you will breed, there will be a short breeding time, and then it will finish. And again, we'll pop another set of 2 Terras in the other breeding den. And then once it finishes, you throw it over into the hatchery. And when you click the breeding den, that is when you'll find out whether you got an item or not. If you didn't get an item from it, well, you just didn't get the 10% item drop. So then you go in, you rebreed, you do more Terra loving all over again. And then you just keep doing this over and over and over again until you get all 6 of those items, because there is no minimum time. You can finish this one instantly in theory if you manage to get 6 breeds in a row. So you could just do 6 breeds, get 6 items if you got super lucky, and that node would be done. But trust me, when you are doing these breeding quests, you may have to breed 50, 100 times just to get one singular item. So it purely depends on RNG. You may get screwed over, you may not, but they can be very, very tiresome and annoying quests. So please bear that in mind, but that is how you do the breeding section. And then we'd have collecting gold, collecting food. We've already been through those. Feeding dragons, super easy one. Then we would have lap 5 node 4, which is hatching eggs. And so this is very similar to the breeding one, and sometimes you'll get breeding plus hatching tasks at the same time. And so you can just like throw it in your breeding egg, for example, and then you would click place on one of the Terra Dragon eggs that is in your hatchery. You click place, and then as soon as you click to put the dragon into a habitat, like now, that is when you'd find out whether you got an item or not. And just like with the breeding, it is 10% base, and that is if you're using Terra Dragon, so the lowest timers that you possibly can. It is 10% chance base. The longer the hatching timer is, the higher your chance is of getting an item, so please don't forget that. What you can do for these hatching, well, mainly hatching, but also breeding tests, if you know that you're going to go to sleep and when you wake up there is going to be a hatching task, what you can do if you really plan it properly is you can instead go in and buy a War Dragon egg. And now that's got a longer timer on it, but you are almost guaranteed to get an item from this once you hatch it. So if you're going to be going to sleep for say 8 hours, just buy a War Dragon and then it will do the same. You'll put it into your hatchery, and then once you hatch it, you should get an item straight away. So if you ever get a node like this one, this feeding dragon one, like lap 5 node 3, say you do 32 items, you collect 32 items, and even though it's only a 3-hour wait, say you go to sleep at this time for 8 hours, as soon as you've collected 32 items for the feeding dragon section, you can go into your hatchery and throw in those War Dragon eggs, and then when you wake up, you're going to get the last 3 items for feeding dragons, you're going to move on to the next node, and then you're instantly going to be able to finish off the hatching eggs node. So that means you can make it less tedious for yourself. I think that this is a slightly more advanced technique. It's not exactly rocket science, it's quite obvious, but it's easy to just not think about it and not do this in advance, and then you're gonna end up with more of this really annoying tedious going in, getting the gold and just hatching terror eggs, and it's very annoying. It's one of the worst things about these events. They're just so horribly repetitive when it comes to terrors in particular. So if you want to reduce the annoyance, especially on hatching tasks, this is a way to do it if you're ever going to be AFK for a set amount of time. So please bear that in mind for these hatching tasks, but 10% chance it will take a lot of hatching if you're using terror eggs. Please bear that in mind. So then after that, it is just more of the same. Collecting food, battling dragons, and then that's node 5. Then we go to lap 6, then it's collecting gold, feeding dragons, and then it just repeats and repeats and repeats. And there we go, we've got lap 6, node 5, which is a hatching eggs plus breeding node, which in a case like this, you literally just do this. You go in, we do a rebreed, we pop in a rebreed, we go into the hatchery, we get the egg, we place the egg, we go to the other breeding den, we click it, it goes over there. Then you put in another breed in the other breeding den, then you go back over here, you hatch this egg. You see, this is a constant cycle. You will pretty much constantly be clicking things if you do it in this order here. You will always have something to breed, something to hatch, and it is just constant. This is the full cycle of getting breeding and hatching done and getting those particular nodes finished. And then, of course, every so often you're going to have to go into the habitat and sell the dragons. But this is the fundamental setup for me, and this is the reason why I don't super mind having 2 breeding dens here, because it's pretty much a perfect cycle. It's all in time as well. So like if we go here, place that one, then we go into the breeding den, you know, it pretty much works perfectly with the time frames that we're looking for. So that's why I like this setup. But obviously I wish there wasn't all this annoying crap all around it. It's just sort of ugly. I admit it is incredibly ugly, but it gets the job done. Okay, it works. Anyway, that is breeding and hatching. They will become a major part and a major decider on who actually does well in this event or not. Same with collecting the food actually as well. Just don't put in any super long timers that are going to hold you back during this event. Like, don't do super long breeds for no reason, because then you won't be able to do the breeding. Don't pop in tons of super long egg timers if you can help it. Maybe if you want to hatch one like new dragon egg, say you got a really good legend or something that you really want to get out, sure, maybe you can fill in one of your hatchery slots. But realistically, having as many hatchery and breeding den slots open during the heroic races will make it so much easier for you. But anyway, that is all of the heroic race stuff in general. Again, I've made tons of guides on every single heroic race since I've started playing, so you can always watch those as well if there's anything you think you might have missed. But it mainly comes down to consistency, because like these players have just not logged in yet. I think it might be because they're busy or they're asleep maybe, but how well you do and who comes first generally comes down to how often are you logging in, and are you actually following these wait timers or not? Because as soon as this one, like you've waited 4 hours, you should be opening up the game, logging in, doing this task. That is how to be most efficient. I know that in reality, we can't all just like open the game whenever we want, but that is how to be the most efficient. So the other thing that I did want to talk about that does relate to this heroic race are these ash chests, and just in general the new collection that we've got, because we do have the new arena collection today, which does have the techno barbarian dragon in it. So to get this dragon and freebie stuff and a free phoenix perk, you just need to be doing your arena battles, which is like what we've been doing. And we do also have the burned bridges collection here, which in this, for every 5 of the scorched wood that you can get out of that scorched chest, you need 5 of those and plus 1 of these unmeltable horns. And then once you've got these, you can get a heroic chest, which could have up to 100 orbs for that new heroic. Of course, you're probably mainly going to get ×1s, but maybe not. Also has heroic trade essence in it, which I know a lot of people are frothing over. Then we've also got an epic egg chest, we've got legendary jokers, and then we've got phoenix perks and random stuff. And then, of course, we have the heroic orbs chest, which may be doable. I'm not going to say it is or it isn't at this stage, but it could possibly be doable, and this could be really, really nice with lots and lots of drops of heroic orbs. Minimum 120 up to 640. That could be game changing and could easily net you an E5 heroic. So definitely be getting in on this collection and getting these scorched wood pieces. It will be very, very good to you. Other thing that I did want to mention in particular was the arena itself. Of course, we do have items here, bolt boots, we have the barbarian shards as well, and we have scorched wood and unmeltable horns. So you should be using your energy as soon as it is available. I know I say that and I haven't done it, but you should, as soon as you have the energy available, be doing all of your battles, winning every single battle if you can, and getting as many of these items as you possibly can. And since these items up here are guaranteed, that's great. These ones are random drops, so you're hoping for scorched wood and horns, mainly horns, but scorched wood also. But definitely make sure you are doing your arena battles at the moment. I think the only other thing that we really have to note is, of course, we've still got 10th celebration chests ongoing, but we do also have Polywind's quests as well. And these Polywind quests, of course, are just more of those special boot quests. At the moment, Bolt is being empowered, so we can't select him, but we can select one of our dragons at least to get ranked up, and I'm gonna choose Duo Destruct because I love Duo Destruct. But of course, for these quests, we need Polywind, and mainly we need Polywind to be leveled up to level 40. And if we do get a Polywind up to level 40, we will get all of the rewards from these quests. But you don't have to do it if you've gotten the, you know, all the boots from the keys collecting, like the Dragon Rescue. But, you know, there's bonus food, there's bonus boots, might as well if you've got the food available, but then again, do you really want a level 40 Polywind? If you don't want to waste the food, you can skip this and again, just get the boots through rescues, but you do need keys for that. But anyway, that is the other main thing that I did want to point out for now. Aside from that, it is just your regular old Dragon City, but of course, with Heroic Race being there, it is the central thing to worry about. We will be having other events coming in as well. Yes, we're probably going to have a Heroic Marathon similar to the High Occult Titan Marathon coming on the 20th of December, but we don't know exactly how that High Corrupt Time Dragon is going to be released. Like, sure, it's going to be in the race probably, but we don't know exactly how difficult that's going to be. We don't know what the balancing is on the timers, and marathons are different to the regular heroic races, and this one is new in the sense that it's a copy of Nacrea, but the Nacrea race was brand new in terms of all these different timers. But just in case you wanted to see confirmation that this was just like the Nacrea race, again, if we go to lap 15, you'll see that the timers are extortionate. So like, we've got collecting food that's 2 hours 30, that's fine. Next one, node 2, 17 hours, unreasonable. Then we've got 3 hours, that's still a bit of time. Node 4, 17 hours, unreasonable. And then we've got another 6 hour, 13 minute timer. So lap 15 alone could take you like 2 days if you're not skipping some of the battle timers, which I'd suggest jamming the final battles in these, both of these, to be able to give you a good shot of getting through 15. But then lap 16, it calms down a little bit, like that's still 5 hours, and then we've still got 10 hours. But on lap 16, it calms down to just 3 battles, so that's easily gemmable. What happened last time was the race was pretty much like the same as usual up to about lap 14. And then the timer started getting ridiculously long. And it's the same this time, 21-hour wait timers, 8-hour wait timers. It's mainly like lap 14 and 15 that are the worst. Like, they are awful. I'm not talking about like way into lap 27 territory, but like lap 14, 15 are horrible. Lap 16 and lap 17 are actually much nicer. This one's got no wait time on it. This one's 13 hours, which is annoying, but it's only 5 items. Then we've got 5-hour wait timer. Then we have 8-hour wait timer. That one's not a nice one. And then we've got another 17-hour one with 8 items. So it does creep up a little bit again, but lap 16 is a really nice one. Lap 17 isn't as bad, but lap 14 and 15, you will hate your life. It is pretty much just like the Nacrea race, and the Nacrea race was so grind heavy. So I would highly recommend deciding in advance whether you want to be willing to spend like 300 plus gems to get your hands on all of the extra orbs for this dragon or not. Maybe more if you're not actually actively logging in. But for the Nacrea race, I think I spent about 250 gems to get me to lap 18 and get the plus 500 orbs. But I was logging in quite a lot. Not a ridiculous amount because I do have IRL stuff as well, but to get the 500 orbs, you have to be logging in a lot, very diligently, and you have to be spending gems. Like, you're gonna have to spend your gems wisely if you don't want to be wasting many hundreds of gems. But anyway, I guess we will get to more grinding because we've got our next battle to do. So I'm going to continue my heroic race grinding. If there's anything that you're not sure about, of course you can ask, or you can watch one of the previous heroic videos that I've made. But since I did one on the Nacrea race, you can always watch that one as well and see if there is anything else extra that you want to pick up from that one. But High Ashwing and the High Nacrea heroic race guides should be more or less the same. So I wish you the best of luck with getting some inactive opponents, getting what you want, getting some nice spins, but get logging in, get doing those laps, and make sure you have DitLap or any guide that has the same values saved and ready to use during this race. Anyway, appreciate you joining me here today. Good luck.